Welcome to Spellswords. Spellswords is a solo slash co-op role-playing roll and write game. It has some elements of a board game or the sort of structure you could expect from a board game while still giving the players the freedom of a role-playing game. So what we're going to do today is we are going to play with this little guy, and we are going to play as a barbarian, a fighter class. You know, the most basic class, is something to start us off to. It sort of introduce the system, but also it's just sort of easier when you don't have to try to wrap your mind around magic on top of it. Not just saying that because I'm trying to procrastinate on working on the magic system more. But no, really, I do enjoy playing with fighter classes. So let's look at the character sheet for this guy. All right, so we got a lot going on here, just like with any role playing game you expect. There's so much to look at, and you're just trying to take it all in. But, of course, there's a lot of rules that are going on here that you have to understand first. So, who is this guy? I named him Logar. He is a human, he is of neutral alignment. You can be good, neutral, or evil. Every character starts off with 20 resolve. Resolve is your health. It represents your physical health, also your mental health. Things that can hurt it would be like if you got hurt by a goblin slashing your ankle, or if you were trying to convince some peasants to rise up against monsters that are attacking their village and you fail, then that is going to affect you mentally because it's part of your resolve. It's part of your will, your motivation to continue to adventure. Essentially, once it reaches zero, you either die or you retire, or whatever fits the context of when it reached zero. Maybe you went insane, or maybe you just gave in to the evil overlords demands, or who knows, whatever fits the context. And this is where you're going to start to see how the game is really open to interpretation in certain things. It has the structures and it has the rules that you might expect from a board game, but still that open-endedness that you expect from a role-playing game. So you start out with 30 gold, and I just decided to purchase some scale mail, a great axe, a health potion, 10 hook, and a rope. Um, you'll see that they each have like this die value here, and that basically means that's the power of the item, which we'll get into how we're going to use that later. You also see he's got different skills. So basically, how it works is that every skill starts out as a d6, and when you make a new character, you get 5 trained skills. So you can have it as a d10, as one skill as a d10, and 4 as a d8. So I chose for Logar to give him a d10 in melee combat, a d8 in strength, d8 in athletics, d8 in speechcraft, and a d8 in performance. As you might expect, the higher the die value, the better the skill. It goes from d6 till d12 plus 3. So with magic, if you don't choose to start out trained in it, then you don't have it basically at all, and you have to devote yourself to a particular temple, depending on if you choose holy, nature, arcane, or chaos magic. So these temples, they're in the different kingdoms of the world. We've got the dwarves, and they have the arcane magic. I believe, yeah. And then the humans, they have the holy magic. The elves, they have the nature magic, and then the orcs have chaos magic. All right, but we're not going to mess with magic. We're just going to be full on like sort of Conan barbarian. We have the follower section, spellbook. We don't need to go over that just yet. Notes section, and that's pretty much it. So how the game works is that you explore and you take on quests, and you're sort of like a narrative sort of emerges from the events that happen. And I will also eventually make like an oracle deck for like being able to answer more complex questions. Like, okay, well, how long ago was this thing that had happened, and you want to know more background information about something to, round out your story. But from hopefully what you can tell from the character sheet is that this isn't a journaling game. This is, there are rules for just about everything. And for when there aren't rules, then it's sort of expected that you try to use your best judgment of what would make sense in a given context. But for the most part, there are plenty of rules. Plenty of rules. As you will see, this is the previous version of the rule book. I made a new one, and yeah, there's plenty of pages in there. There's plenty of rules, um, but we are not gonna, obviously dive into the rule book. We want to actually get playing and see how does this game work. All right, so I got my dice, I got my guy, a character sheet, and everything. So you made your guy. You can play with multiple players. Everyone's gonna pick where do you want to start. You can start out in any town, castle. It doesn't matter, kind of, because if you choose to start in the mountains, you're gonna probably make it really difficult on yourself. And that's the thing about this game is that there is a sort of difficulty to each terrain, to each area. So we've got the grasslands. It's going to be like basically the easiest. There are more NPC encounters and less combat ones, and the combat ones aren't as difficult. And then we get into the forest. It gets a little more spookier. It gets a little more difficult things. Like you might find some werewolves in there. And then the swamps and the mountains are more or less equal, with the mountains being a little more difficult. So it's advised you find somewhere in the grasslands to start out and then try to work your way through the different terrains. So I think where are we going to start, Logar? We could do Dawn Grove because I want to start on the grasslands. Crathen Keep, which is the capital of the grasslands area. Wolfwater, Mercy's Rest, and Eastmore. We're going to put Logar, he's going to start out in Wolfwater. Because that sounds like a kind of backwater town. So it's perfect for, someone as unruly as Logar the barbarian. All right, so from here, what do we do? What do we do? Well, we need a quest. That I am working on making modules where you can play, pre-written quests. But we're just going to get a quest from the tavern, which you can do in any town or castle. So to get a quest, you just have to draw a character card. So we have 4 different decks of cards, and we have the character cards, dungeon cards, treasure or loot cards, and the travel cards. So we're going to draw a character card. And what do we get? Discover. They've heard of an ancient dungeon that possesses great power. If you escort them there's a puzzle at the last room they can solve, granting you plus 5 XP in any skill. Make a distance and direction check for the dungeon location. All right, that sounds pretty cool. Perfect. First quest is dungeon delving. Love it. So we're going to figure out, first of all, where is this dungeon? So distance and direction check is with 2d6s. So distance will be blue, direction will be black. So it's 5 away and it's in this direction 6. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it is 5 away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's funny. It's in Dawn Grove. I don't think it really makes much sense for the dungeon to be there, so we're just going to roll another d6 and say that it's somewhere adjacent. 3, 1, 2, 3. So dungeon is here at E9. All right, and then we have to escort them, so that means we also have to draw some cards, and we're going to have to take them with us. All right, this is going to be interesting, and we're going to see how to generate an NPC. So we're going to draw first to see what gender. Okay, so it's female, And then the next one we're going to do is race, I guess, elf. And then we're going to draw a name. So under the elf name, I didn't write for that name. Let's draw another one. Didn't draw for that one either. There's got to be a card somewhere here. Okay, there we go. Micaiah. Say Micaiah. Okay, so it's an elf. And let's check what their class is, because I'm also curious about that. Class is there a chef? And the quest was that there was an ancient dungeon that possesses great power and that they could solve that puzzle. And they're chef, an elven chef. What would an elven chef know about an ancient puzzle? Must have something to do with the culinary arts that we just we can't comprehend yet. Let's check it out. All right, so we're going to write that down in our followers section. I'm guessing this is not, I don't know if this is, I guess I would say this is not an evil person. I don't know, it could be. Let's just say 1, 2, it's evil, 3, 4, neutral, and 5, 6 is good. Okay, so they're evil. Yikes. Okay, so an evil chef, and it's elf Micaiah. All right, and the power die value. Actually, you have to make a section on the cards to be able to draw a random card for what their power might be. We'll just say that they're probably a D, somewhere between D6. We'll say 1, 2 is D6, 3, 4 is D8, and 5, 6 is D10. Okay, so they're a D6 power, so they're not actually that strong. All right, so I guess that's everything we need to know. I'm guessing they're probably carrying around like implements for cooking. I don't know really what else they would have. We don't really have money to buy them equipment anyway, so we can't get them like weapons. I probably don't want them to fight because I want them to survive. To be able to take me, to the dungeon, obviously, and get them there in one piece so I can get my reward of that 5 XP. So we are going to travel there. How do we travel? So how travel works is by foot you can travel 3 spaces, horse is 4, and then you might find some other mounts that let you go even further than that, or you could even fly depending on the mount that you find. But we're on foot, so 3 spaces, and then you're gonna count. So we're 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna roll a die, 1d6, and we're gonna see if we roll a 1, a 2, or a 3. It's always the number of spaces you go. If we roll a 4, 5, or 6, nothing happens. We rolled a 3. So on G10, we encountered something on this grasslands tile. Let's draw a card and see. Ooh, some goblins. So there are D6 goblins. Ooh, 5. Yikes. If there are 3 or more, they're led by a chieftain, D8. So there are 5 goblins and a chieftain. This is really tempting because this is like our first battle. I'm gonna say let's just try it, and if Logar dies, then I guess was just meant to be that way. So do well, buddy. All right, so we've got five of these goblins. Let's take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're also gonna need a D8 for the chieftain. All right, so I am going to use my great axe. I'm gonna use my melee combat skill to fight these guys. Hopefully we can knock a few out in this first go around. Otherwise, I could probably get close to death in just a couple rounds. All right, so I'm gonna need a D10. This is gonna be what I'm gonna use to roll against. So it's gonna be all the enemies, all of them rolling at once. They do not have any effects, but it says that because they're traveling with a chieftain, that he protects a treasure. So let's see what happens. Okay, I got 8, 2, 5, 6, 5. Oof. Okay, I got some high numbers. And then we've got a great axe, and when it's actually wielded with 2 hands, you'll get a +1. I don't want to forget that because I usually do. So we're gonna roll his melee combat skill with his great axe. We got a 5 +1 is 6, so we beat all of the goblins. And the chieftain, however, he has landed a hit on us. So how the XP works is, to get XP, you have to be able to beat a test versus a encounter that has an equal to or greater than skill than you. Because we're so great at melee combat already, we already have a D10. Fighting these lowly, weakling goblins is not really going to help us become greater or mightier warriors. So we don't get any XP for that, unfortunately. Fortunately, we survive, so that's what matters. I should also mention that technically what I should have said was that I would declare that she is going to stay behind, but let's just assume that for any other encounters. Because if you're traveling with a follower, you have to choose what they're going to do in the combat. I already knew that I wanted to protect her because she has D6 power, which means she has only 6 resolve. So she could die in just, a single hit. So it's better that she just stays behind me. And as long as she doesn't do anything, then she doesn't need to roll. If she does try to do something, then she does have to roll, and anything she fails, I would have to take the damage because I would be saying, okay, well, Logar is, in front of her protecting her. Sorry about that, running out of storage space for recording, but let's quickly try to roll against this Goblin Chieftain before I run out of space. All right, so I got a +1. Yes, okay, we beat him, and unfortunately his die was less than ours, so we do not get an experience point, but we do get a treasure, so let's go ahead and roll for that. Draw card for that, so it's a loot card. We got a magic staff. Okay, that's cool if we find some magic person, not really what I want for Logar, but whatever. So we're going to draw an enchantment card to see what it has. It's a D10, that's pretty nice. Of course, it's cursed. So anyone who touches it are cursed by it. Great. Let's see what the curse is and draw another card. Madness. You simply go insane. Each time you approach someone, roll a d6. On a 4 to 6, draw a reaction card for your reaction. Okay, so now I'm going to have random reactions to people because of this until I get this cured at a temple. That's awesome. So, running out of storage space, just gonna say thank you so much for watching. In the next episode, we're gonna see if Logar can even make it to this dungeon and see if he can survive it and be able to understand what this ancient magic that this evil chef can dispel to unlock this knowledge that he can level up one of his skills.